So the great thing about these urine diversion systems, which are coming out now, is that you never create fecal sludge. And it's so funny because my best friend in South Africa, she's like, Shelley, I can't believe that you're talking about fecal sludge because that's what I talk about most of my days now.
And to us, we're just like, yes, tell us more about fecal sludge.
Welcome to the ZuLoo Poodcast, where we talk all things poop, toilets and sanitation. Through insightful news, impact stories and quirky humour, we aim to discuss and highlight the critical role toilets play in flushing poop out of our lives, the impact toilets have, or lack thereof, on the health and wellness of humanity, and what ZuLoo is doing to help solve the current global sanitation crisis. This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Humanitarian, a nonprofit organization committed to delivering sustainable sanitation, clean water, and hygiene solutions to underserved communities around the globe. Head to ZuLoo.org to learn more. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast. Darren, how's it going?
Yes, ma'am. Great. Fantastic.
Good.
I'm here. Showing up.
We're here. It's a good day to be alive.
We got to do another podcast. All right.
All right. Here we are.
I'm showing up. You're in charge.
Well, today we have an interview with Shelley from SOSNPO. And the first time I saw that, I tried to make a word out of it.
Yeah.
SOSNPO.
SOSNPO.
And then do you want to hear a super nerdy fact?
Yeah.
Do you want to know the difference between an acronym and an initialism?
I don't think I've ever heard of an initialism.
I had never heard of an initialism either, but apparently we're all using the word acronym incorrectly.
Oh,
an acronym is when the abbreviated letters spell a word like NASA.
Okay.
Or like WASH.
Okay, WASH. Stands for something.
Stands for, what is it? Water and Sanitation Hygiene.
Like CIA.
See, now that's an initialism because it's not a word.
It's not a word.
Because we don't say SIA.
Oh, true.
So if it spells a word, then it's an acronym.
Oh, okay. You make a word out of it, it's an acronym. If we
just say the letters, it's an initialism. There you go, people.
I think SOSNPO is an
initialism.
An initialism.
Yep.
With a bunch of
the
initials.
The more you know,
there.
folks.
SOSNPO.org.
Yeah.
Org.
And Shelley's the CEO of SOSNPO.
CEO is an initialism.
Yes.
Org is
well, that's just an abbreviation.
An org is it's a word though. People use it, right?
But
org?
It does. But the letters don't stand for a letter or a word on their own.
Oh, I don't say I work at this org.
Well, like ORG doesn't stand for optimal regional gear.
Right.
Okay.
Did you catch that? There'll be a quiz at the end here.
All right.
I wanted to ask you before we get into Shelley's interview about your school event you had. So you had a bunch of, you guys were flinging poo at the school, right?
We were actually.
Yeah. What was going on there?
So my daughter, who's in 7th grade, she was reading a book about a boy in Africa, and it was highlighting how difficult it was to access water. Okay. And as we were talking about this book, I said, sweetheart, you know that this is something that your mom talks about a lot. She had no idea.
She's like, what?
I was like, yeah, you know that thing I go do, the podcast. Oh, yeah, I forgot you did that.
My mom's a famous star? What?
No, well, hardly. But she said, oh, well, I'm going to tell my teacher about that. And I was like, okay. Next thing I know, I get a text from Mrs. Smith saying, will you please come talk to the entire middle school about this? So
awesome.
it was great. We had...
Yeah, we dropped off a big load of
yes, Darren, you
ZuLoo
loaded me up with a
poos,
massive bag of squishy emoji
Do we have
coops.
those anymore? I don't know.
I still have a whole half a bag.
You got plenty of them.
The kids were really, really great. They were curious. They wanted to know more.
So you did a little presentation.
We did a presentation, kind of talked about, what does that actually mean, the global sanitation crisis? What does that mean for someone in real life? What does that mean for kids their age around the world?
Yeah, awesome.
Why is it not a one-size-fits-all solution across, all these different places? And they were so engaged. It was really, really fun. Yeah. I admit I was a little intimidated at first because, it's been a while since junior high. But the kids were great and they loved it. So it was wonderful.
I always found if I get nervous in front of a crowd, I just pull out a little poop emoji.
And toss it at someone?
Everybody's my buddy.
I mean, it does kind of it's a great icebreaker.
Field, everybody loves it,
Yeah.
So anyway, awesome.
So
sounds like a great event.
It was.
So cool.
All right. Well, let's dive into Shelley, CEO of SOSNPO.
All right. We are here today with Shelley Webb-Humphreys, who's joining us from South Africa in Cape Town specifically. And we're very grateful. She's in the middle of a heat wave with no electricity. So we are so glad she's making this work for us. Shelley, thank you.
Her glow is natural.
Yeah.
It just comes from her.
She glows
her
from the
countenance.
inside.
Yeah, amazing.
Shelley, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to get to know you and talk a lot about your organization, SOSNPO. But before we jump into that, we would love to hear a little bit more about you and your personal background and what led you into the sanitation space. It's always fun to hear how people end up here because it's not usually where people think they're going when they first start.
Oh, no. I mean, I would never have imagined I'd be ending up working in toilets.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey. I mean, look, I'm not young. So I have done lots of things in my life. I'm from England originally. And I moved to South Africa 25 years ago. So I've actually kind of spent just as much time in England as I have in South Africa now.
What took you to South Africa?
Sorry?
What took you to South Africa?
Actually, my husband, who is now my ex. So
Okay.
when I was working in London in the IT sector, completely not anything to do with sanitation or wash, I met my ex-husband there when I was in my 20s, and he was from South Africa. And this was years ago. This was when nobody was going to South Africa on holiday. And, and I was like really interested, like, oh my gosh, do you have like lions walking around the streets and stuff? Like crazy naive stuff that was like, 30 years ago. And so he bought me, he'd been living in London for about 10 years, and he was so sick of the weather, as most people do, get sick of the weather. And so we were both working in London, and then he was like, I'd really like to go and spend some time back home. So when I first came to Cape Town, I just fell in love with it. I mean, it's such a beautiful, beautiful city, but it has got lots and lots of underlying problems. And I come from a psychology background, so I did psychology honours at university. I was planning on taking it further and doing my master's. I actually wanted to be a psychotherapist. And then when I came out here, obviously it takes a while to get your permanent residence, so you can't work. So I was doing lots of voluntary work. So I was volunteering at actually the South African Police Service because they've just started a new trauma centre. So basically what they were going to be doing is that victims of crime had the opportunity to speak to a trauma counsellor over a male policeman, for example, if you've been raped or whatever. So we were on call and we were trained in how to take statements and not leading them, because sometimes these cases ended up in court. So I spent 2 years there, and it was a massive, shock at what is going on and really seeing the underbelly of Cape Town. So that quickly gave me a big enlightenment on, domestic abuse, drugs, family abuse, gender-based violence, hectic. And I was also volunteering at a crisis intervention centre for children. So it was working alongside a social worker, and it was basically a respite care home for children that were in difficult home circumstances. And that kind of reignited my passion to get back into the kind of philanthropic space, because whilst I was in London, I was working in IT and banking, making lots of money, but really not meaningful work. And so it gave me the opportunity here. And of course, when we nearly hit day zero, the massive droughts in 2018 that we had here in Cape Town, that's when I first started SOS. I actually registered it. We started trucking water out to schools in impoverished communities so that schools could remain open, because all the children were being sent home from school. They were all on the streets, and it was a bit of a nightmare. So we worked predominantly with schools.
It's interesting. You got started not from a theoretical sense, but from a very practical. You were thrown into the deep end, it sounds like, right away with some big social issues. And so, I'm curious to hear how, bringing waters out to schools, how did that spark the idea to found SOS?
Well, obviously through my work with the South African Police Service, I had been on site to various townships, homes, where crimes had taken place and stuff. And that was when you first had my introduction into an informal settlement, because you don't generally just go into them.
Unless you've got an informal settlement, is that what you said?
Yeah, so they're either called townships or informal settlements, and basically what they are large pieces of land which have been taken over illegally. It's usually council land by mainly Black South Africans, and setting up shacks, like it's kind of like shanty slum dwelling, because they have no money. They have no access to services in most of these areas. But I mean, some of these townships have been there for years, like Soweto and Johannesburg and Kailicha, and there are millions of people in these spaces. So they're very densely populated. They have a whole culture of their own, rules of their own, often led by, they have like a leadership normally in each community, which is headed up by 6 or 7 people who are respected and revered in the community, who kind of make a lot of the community's choices and decisions. And relationship management is absolutely key when you're doing any kind of work within these within the informal settlements. You have to have, you have to learn to be trusted. You have to show up when you're going to show up. You have to do what you say you're going to do, and not give any expectations that you can't deliver. So it's very much relationship based, because once you get their trust, then you can help them so much more.
Hey friends, it's Jocelyn with ZuLoo. I want to share something that's really stuck with me after doing this podcast for the past few years. I feel like I've lived these stories, listening to what so many women and families go through every single day. As a mom with 2 young daughters, it hits me on a completely different level. Imagine having to wake up before dawn and risk assault just to find a private place to go to the bathroom. For 673 million people, that's not hypothetical. That's daily life. And for so many girls, the lack of a safe, clean toilet means they drop out of school once they reach puberty. Just trying to manage something as basic as hygiene ends up costing them their education and their future. That's why ZuLoo Humanitarian is doing this work, building safe, sustainable toilets and clean water solutions for families who need them most. It's not just about sanitation. It's about dignity, safety, and giving girls a real chance. And here's the part that gets me. You can change that for a family. Just $350. That's less than $1 a day. You can fund a toilet for up to 7 people. If this speaks to you at all, please go to ZuLoo, spelled ZULOO.org/give. That's ZULOO.org/give. It really does make a difference.
So a lot of the work that we've been doing is providing water access, rainwater harvesting. We're doing a lot within the sanitation space, obviously upgrading of toilets. A couple of big projects that we're doing at the moment is around a circular economy model, which we've named Out of Blue, which is where we're taking human waste and turning it into fertilizer and biochar for cooking and heating. So it creates jobs, and it also brings funds back into the informal communities, which is much needed. So it's taken many years for us to create this model, and we're trying we're running it as a pilot in Johannesburg and also in Limpopo, Garmoret with a sanitation company called Amalulu, who design all the dry toilets. And yeah, it's been really, really successful. And it's very exciting because it can actually turn communities around. We've also got a new structure that we've just introduced called the Dignity Hub, which is a fantastic infrastructure unit which comprises of a toilet and a shower. So you can have warm showers. It's got hidden solar panels in the roof. Another one of the big things you have to think about when you're working within informal settlements is what the structures are made of. Because anything that's worth anything, so even if it's like a steel tap or whatever, will get stolen and sold. These people have nothing. They're living in, abject poverty. There's no jobs. Our unemployment situation in South Africa is awful. Youth unemployment is at 62% for 15 to 25-year-olds. So it's really sad when you're working in the schools and you're seeing these really motivated students coming out of schools and there's no work for them. So job creation is key on one of our goals within our projects that we do as well. But yeah, I'll stop talking for a little bit.
That's great. I'm wondering if you run into, we have a friend in South Africa or in Cape Town, Burger Lundgren with Sanitation Ambassadors. Have you ever run across him?
We know him very well. He lives just up the road from Constantia.
Oh, nice.
What a great guy. We love him.
Oh, yeah.
We
saw him. We've seen him at the World Toilet Summit a couple times, and we've had him on the show. And he keeps threatening to do a World Toilet Summit in Cape Town, and we're like, yeah, sign us up.
Yes.
We're there, right? So we'd love to come see you sometime.
Yeah,
and Burger as well.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And yeah, Burger is amazing. I mean, his sanitation model is kind of similar to what we're currently using at the moment, but we have had lots of conversations with him, and we're still in conversation with him about collaborative projects. Because we want to utilize as many different dry sanitation toilet models there are out there, because there are so many, and they're all ingenious in their own way. So it is definitely on the cards, and we're very good friends with him. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Oh, nice. That's great. That's great to hear. Sounds like you. So I know Burgers. They have like a prefabbed unit that they try to bring in, and it sounds like you're using any sort of either, I guess, local materials, just depending on the situation, right?
Yeah. So the Amanudu toilets that we have been using in the majority of our projects to date are actually cement structures with, I don't even know what material it is, plastic doors, and then everything inside. So it has like a little water container at the top, like where you'd flush, so that if you don't have a municipal supply, you can fill that up with anything. You can fill it up with rainwater, water from a nearby stream, borehole water, and then that comes down to a little tap, which goes over a sink, and then the sink is over the toilet. So when you turn the tap on and you wash your hands, then that water goes down into the toilet to flush it. And it has a urine diversion system. So the liquid waste goes into pipes underground into food gardens for additional fertilizer underground. And the solid waste goes down into containers under the ground, which are aerated. So we have big aeration pipes at the back, and that dries it out. So the great thing about these urine diversion systems, which are coming out now, is that you never create fecal sludge. And it's so funny because my best friend in South Africa, she's like, Shelley, I can't believe that you're talking about fecal sludge, because that's what I talk about most of my days now.
And to us, we're just like, yes, tell us more about fecal sludge.
And the problem that we have very much in South Africa is that a lot of, most of the wastewater treatment plants are failing. So pollution is rife. They're not able to manage all the connections that they have. So localized, non-sewered, water-efficient sanitation solutions, there's so many acronyms, are what needs to be introduced. So, and we need to keep it local. We don't want big centralized sewer systems anymore because they're failing. We can't manage them here. We can't maintain them here properly. And even the Department of Water and Sanitation here are now saying that municipalities have to start looking at these non-sewered sanitation solutions because population is just increasing drastically, and there's just not enough. The wastewater treatment plants are just failing, and they can't have any more connections to their plant. So it's creating some big pollution issues, and so we're very much about localized solutions where possible.
So I think it's really important. I appreciate how you kind of set the landscape of what this looks and feels like in an informal settlement. I'm curious how many people is one of these units serving? Do you have one of these dry sanitation stations or whatever you're choosing to call it for every how many people in one of these settlements? And is it, we talk a lot about the specific challenges in when a big population is sharing a single toilet, how women and girls are oftentimes put in really dangerous situations because they need to use the restroom more, because it can happen in the night, and then they're vulnerable to people who can prey on that need. So I'm curious how you guys have handled some of those challenges.
Yeah. So when we work within communities, it's very much the leadership's decision on where the units go. So we can either install standalones, which is one unit, and then dotted around the area, or we have them clustered. So we normally use the clustered options in schools. We also have one containerized option where we've got a massive 12-foot container with 12 units in that we put into a huge mega school in Johannesburg called Ivory Park, where they've got over 2,300 primary students. And then with the Dignity Hubs, the big project that we're doing this year, which is called 100 Voices, is much more focused on specifically women, so girls and women, and that is where we are, raising funds to give 100 of these Dignity Hubs to 100 identified women, female-led households in different areas, and obviously train them on how they operate and maintain it. But they can actually be used as a micro enterprise because they can then charge for warm showers. We have a handheld washing machine that's part of it, so they can do laundry. So we're really trying to find ways in where we can uplift women with micro enterprises. So that they're less reliant on men for money, their husbands for money, that they can become financially independent, and reduce the risks of GBV within for themselves and their families. So the Dignity Hub is a great passion project of ours.
Hey friends, it's Jocelyn with ZuLoo. I want to share something that's really stuck with me after doing this podcast for the past few years. I feel like I've lived these stories, listening to what so many women and families go through every single day. As a mom with 2 young daughters, it hits me on a completely different level. Imagine having to wake up before dawn and risk assault just to find a private place to go to the bathroom. For 673 million people, that's not hypothetical. That's daily life. And for so many girls, the lack of a safe, clean toilet means they drop out of school once they reach puberty. Just trying to manage something as basic as hygiene ends up costing them their education and their future. That's why ZuLoo Humanitarian is doing this work, building safe, sustainable toilets and clean water solutions for families who need them most. It's not just about sanitation. It's about dignity, safety, and giving girls a real chance. And here's the part that gets me. You can change that for a family. Just $350. That's less than $1 a day. You can fund a toilet for up to 7 people. If this speaks to you at all, please go to ZuLoo, spelled ZULOO.org/give. That's ZULOO.org/give. It really does make a difference.
So laundry, you mentioned laundry, warm showers. What else is included in a dignity hub? I love that term. That's genius.
So they're basically, because there's the toilet and, you can flush there as well. So you can either charge for using the bathroom, you can charge for having a shower, you can do laundry. We're also looking at potentially, because the area, it's very compact, but there's space in there where you could perhaps have a sewing machine and you could do, sewing or, clothes making. So there's lots of different ideas that we feel that you could utilize the space for.
How big is that? I was going to ask you how big the Dignity Hub is, or does it vary? I mean, is it like one unit?
So, with
the roof on it?
So basically you've got, it's like having 3 cubicles together in one space. So you've got the space for the toilet and the hand washing unit, and then you've got the shower with the solar panels in the roof, and then you have got some space in there that you could actually utilize to fit the hand operated washing machine. We're also looking at how we can, create a hand operated dryer. So we're trying to move everything back to basics, where everything is hand operated and sort of labor intensive, because that's what creates jobs. So we're not looking for shortcuts. We're looking for ways in which we can, upskill people in the communities and teach them about hygiene and sanitation and how important that is. And the other passion project of mine that we've been doing is called the Eradicator Pit Stop, which is looking at eradicating illegal pit toilets in schools in South Africa. And I don't know how much you know about pit toilets, but they're horrendous. And we've had incidences of very young children falling into the toilets and drowning in sewage. I mean, I could think anything worse. And these young children, that is the only sanitation option they have. So it's either that, or what they often choose to do is go into the field behind and openly defecate, which has its own pollution problems. So especially
they're super, super, super dangerous. And I've read lots of stories about, I think in South Africa in particular, on some tragedies, for sure that happen.
That is the most unimaginable death. I can't fathom.
It's the stuff that nightmares are made of. And, basic sanitation, they still don't have it in the government schools. A lot of the inner city schools do. They have flush toilets and they're connected up to the municipal lines. But when you're looking at Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, all those schools out there, and, we've been to see hundreds of them, they've still got pit toilets. And the children are terrified to go in there. I mean, they've got worms in the... I mean, it's just a hygiene nightmare. And, of course, that's then creating, diseases, dysentery, cholera, diarrhea. So they're missing loads of school because of that. And then not, to even think about a poor girl menstruating. I mean, they don't have doors on. There's no privacy. There is zero dignity. And so, our passion project is trying to reach these schools, demolishing the pit toilets, filling them, making sure there's no safety issues there, and putting these new units in for them. And it's quite interesting because you have to teach them how to use a toilet, because obviously they've got no experience of it. These are rural kids who never leave their village. And, the idea of having toilet tissue or even washing their hands with soap, which is the biggest primary intervention you can have to keep away from diseases, washing your hands with soap, but they don't have soap available to them. And so it's a massive challenge. And it's right on our doorstep here. And you just can't believe it's going on in so close to you in the townships. And it's really sad. And it's just such a lack of dignity and respect to people. But unfortunately, it's not a big political priority. So it doesn't get a lot of airtime.
Well, we're happy that you guys are stepping into the fray. We've seen that happen in so many different areas where the government just doesn't have the budget to do it, or they just don't have the political will to do it. And so, it leaves it up to nonprofits, like your organization, like ZuLoo, to kind of step in to sort of solve that. And we're applaud you for stepping in and stepping up.
Thank you. No, I mean, look, the work is so rewarding. I wouldn't change it for the world. I love what I do every day. Never get a holiday, but I mean, that's, part and parcel.
You deserve a holiday. Come to Utah. Come to the mountains. Well, I love it. I love hearing that you are still very passionate about the work, and you've referred to like the last several projects as passion projects. It's very clear that you are so personally and emotionally invested in this work, which is so vital. I'm curious, you've been doing this a while now. You've done lots of projects. I guess my question is two-part. What have you learned? A lot of people go into the sanitation, they want to help and they try things. I'm curious what you've learned doesn't work over the years, even if it was well-meaning. What are some things that you could see that, after all, they weren't very sustainable. It didn't build good relationships. What are some of the missteps maybe that you've observed along the way?
Yeah. So we have seen, and we ourselves did those projects, in the early years of, thinking that helping people would be far easier. And it can get misconstrued. You can raise expectations, which you can't meet. And there's always the operations and maintenance and sustainability of the project. That is always the issue. We see so many well-meaning organisations, banks, insurance companies, they go in, they put infrastructure in. They haven't even spoken to the community. They haven't spoken to the leadership. And they don't want it, And the way that they show they don't want it and that they haven't been involved from the very, very beginning is by either ignoring it or vandalising it and breaking it down. And that's where we've seen so many projects, not just ours, but others where, you have to spend that time working with the community, getting their buy-in from the very beginning and asking them questions like, what do you need? What is a priority for you? We think we know their priorities, but we haven't got a clue. We're not in their shoes. We haven't got any clue. So people that think they're helping by doing things that they think is helping can often bite you in the arse. You need to go and speak to them. You need to be in the communities. You need to speak to the leaders. You need to speak to the women, because obviously a lot of the females, when you're doing like core focus groups or stuff, they will sit at the back. They'll let the men speak, especially with the South African culture. So the Causa culture. So it's very important that you are hearing from everybody in the community and that they all want the same thing. Because even if you've got a small group that don't want it, they'll just vandalise it and break it. You don't stand a chance of being sustainable at the end of the day. So, so that's where a lot of mistakes have been made, is people putting stuff into communities that they haven't even spoken to them about, and then they wonder why it's not successful.
We find that in India. We've done a lot in India. We've also done things in Zambia as well, as far as projects. And it's like, if you don't have that local leadership, whether that's the neighborhood, neighborhood committee, or like your women's group that it just it gets easily misconstrued, like you're saying, and it kind of backfires, right? So
it can do,
It's a through line we hear. There's always good intentions, but it is a form of arrogance to think that we know better. Whoever's going in to try to solve a problem, without local buy-in and perception and cultural sensitivity, you're not going to get very far. But it sounds like you and your team and, the organization of SOSNPO, you really have done the work to put in, those conversations, those hours, the time to build that trust and, come up with these sustainable projects that are going to move the needle and make a difference, especially, where people's dignity and health is concerned. Shelley, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to tell us, what's going on in your organization and how you guys are providing dignity. In the future, we would love to have you back. I want to hear more about how the Dignity Hub project is progressing. It sounds amazing.
All right. How great is she?
Amazing. I mean, to hear her story going from, it's always amazing seeing people go from careers that are like so far from sanitation, you can't think, and then wind up as the CEO of a sanitation solution. I mean, I think, I know how it feels, but,
right. I was going to say that's something you can relate to.
I can relate to that, but super great. We're excited to get to South Africa at some point. We've got a lot of friends there. Every time we're going to, like the World Toilet Summit, there's a big contingent from South Africa there.
Yeah, that's right.
From Cape Town, which is where Shelley's at. So we're, sooner or later, we're going to make our way there. So,
well, were they considering holding it in Cape Town? I thought that was
it's always being floated,
rumor,
kind of tempting, So anyway, but it's happening in Thailand this year. So ZuLoo is a sponsor of the World Toilet Summit in Thailand. So we're excited to go. We finally got Jocelyn to go.
I know.
She's not getting married or some excuse. I don't know what, any excuse. Like, well, I don't want to go to India. I don't want to go to... Anyway, but now I think you've committed, right? You're fully committed.
It's happening.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, all right.
Excited.
Well, Shelley, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us. This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast has been sponsored by ZuLoo Humanitarian, advancing dignity, health, and opportunity through sanitation. Learn more at ZuLoo.org.
Thank you for listening to the ZuLoo Poodcast. Follow us on social media and visit ZuLoo.org to learn more about how ZuLoo is helping tackle the global sanitation crisis through toilets, clean water, and hygiene solutions. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you'd like to support our mission, visit our website to learn how you can help change lives through better sanitation.